How does Confucianism help us understand what life is? Life and existence are as different as they are alike. Life and existence are simply states of being. Assuming we do exist, there would appear to be three forms of existence. Existence with no awareness, rocks, water, existence with awareness, birds, frogs, and existence with awareness of awareness, humans. Only one of these states of existence appears to have awareness of its existence, self-awareness, awareness of its ability to love, to hate, to find happiness, and to seek out and fulfill a purpose it senses it has for existing. Existence generated by a body, existence with awareness generated by the mind, and existence with the capacity to be aware of what it means to be aware generated by a soul, the essence of the individual. It is only existing in the third level of the abstract concept, seeking purpose to life, becoming a driving factor for existence. This is not to say that an entity must have a central nervous system in order to be aware of awareness. It is not to say a central nervous system is key to life. On our planet, that may be true, but who is to say what curious forms of existence we will find in the heavens, the universe, or beyond? Abstractness, when we become aware of its reality, with a capital R, reality, absolute, then becomes not abstract at all, but we're fully aware of its presence. This is not to say that that only the level of existence having awareness of awareness is to be respected. The environment is a place with a purpose, and as such deserves the respect due to such as an existence. Existence having no purpose needs no respect. But if, as postulated, that our entire universe, to some degree, has the principles of life behind it in a hylozoic paradigm, then all things deserve respect, including the earth and everything on it. The reason we treat our environment with such disdain comes back to our lack of understanding regarding purpose. We have no idea why we are important. We have no idea what our purpose in existing is. We lash out at our environment as if it has no purpose, when in actuality we are lashing out at our environment in frustration over our inability to place purpose in our own existence. If we could make the leap from seeing we had a purpose for existing to seeing a model which explained our purpose, then we would extend respect to the environment, the living earth, because we would see it as a place within which we existed. Respect for the environment would come as a natural outgrowth of our understanding what our purpose is for existing. Confucianism, the concept of society could be saved if it emphasized sincerity in personal and public conduct, is saying to saying to save society, we need the big picture. We need to understand a model of why we exist if we are to understand the definite rules of conduct, or a code of conduct, a code of ethics. What does Confucianism have to offer us as individuals? Confucianism does not offer us the rules. Confucianism offers us the concept that a definite set of rules are necessary for order and structure and stability. Which set of rules is up to us? The rules establish, quote unquote, the order. The rules establish what we think of the individual, the soul. Define what it is we think the purpose of the individual is, and form the model of what it is we think life is. And so, we go about setting up rules and laws in society to outline conduct acceptable to society and to fine-tune our laws, whether internationally or nationally. They eventually become so complex that we lose sight of the individual altogether. The society and institutions that become what is important, not the individual. Amassed conformist collectivism versus that of individual free agency, unconstrained. This complexity gains momentum the further it gets from its point of origination. The point of origin is the concept of setting up rules so society can be saved. This does not imply Confucianism is the cause of the problems in society, quite the contrary. What it does imply is that we are at fault. You and I are at fault, individuals. Society is not a living entity of its own. Society is composed of individuals. Society is composed of you and I. You and I are the ones lacking the foundation of our purpose, and as such, the rules and laws we create lack a foundation due to this fact. We build rules and laws for society, not the individual. We set up rules and laws upon a non-existent understanding of what life's purpose is. So the rules and laws at this point, because of the lack of understanding of what life's purpose is, are limited and constrained to crime and punishment form of justice rather than a non-hierarchical freedom of souls. You may not know what the purpose of life is. That is what is so exciting about philosophy. Philosophy is the field that builds the model, any model it wants to build, and then turns the model over and over in the hands as it examines the model. Philosophy feels the model, applies the model, projects the model into the future, applies the model to the past, and theorizes what the model could do for the present. Philosophy builds rules and laws of logic based upon these theoretical models, and then examines the results of just such laws and rules. There are divine laws, there are man-made laws, and there are indeed universal laws. But it is one thing to build a model and another to build a model acceptable to individuals in society. Confucianism implies laws and rules are definitely necessary for an orderly society, and this cannot be argued with, but Confucianism does not state what these rules and laws ought to be. This is left up to us. By leaving this up to us, Confucianism implies we have the freedom and the free will to build the model of our choice. What significance does Confucianism have to offer us as a species? Society has not been what our species has been striving to protect. Society has been the tool through which our species has been striving to elevate the perception of the value, the significance of the individual. We have so much to be proud of as a species. We have tenaciously reattained the concept of individualism, true freedom. The essence of the awareness lies within the individual, not society. Millions have given up their life's journey in order to solidify the rights of future individuals to journey unimpeded in life. This has not been a recent development. Blood has been spilled for this cause ever since our history began. The blood trail began as a trickle and has become a river. The blood trail is not finished. The establishment of the rights of the individual as the foundation of our species has not been completely locked into place. The reason we have not finished giving blood for this concept is because we have no foundation to place under the idea that it is the individual that holds significance, the soul. We have fought for this idea, we have died for this idea, but the idea is built upon a foundation of sand. And just as soon as we finish expanding this idea to include others throughout the world, the idea begins to slip as the foundation of sand begins to erode away, undermined by members of our own species. And what do we do as the foundation slips away? We sit and watch until it becomes a major crisis. We cannot see the foundation begin to erode because the foundation is not visible to us. We have no foundation, no unified view, because philosophy has not built one for us. The foundation is what we must work on. This is philosophy's responsibility. Philosophy is the field within which we build models of what we believe the causative force is, or what religions call God. What the universe is, what we are, how the three interrelate, and what the function of each is. Philosophy can build any model it wants, but it is to be, if it is to be acceptable to society, it must follow certain guidelines or definite rules of conduct. These guidelines are established in terms of what we believe and what we observe, faith and science. How can this be when religions seem to contradict each other and science and religion quarrel over what reality is. That is why it is called a unified view. It is not religion and it is not science. It is a model meshing the two, fusing the most basic concepts of each through the glue of reason, philosophy. It is a model that acts as the foundation, and like all models, it would change with time. What significance does Confucianism have to offer other life forms in the universe? This model building is the basis of Confucianism. The models established, set in place, a foundation of logic upon which our definite rules of conduct, rules and laws, can be built. Confucianism does not set any particular rules. Confucianism simply states that a society cannot remain orderly, cannot save itself without having established what the rules are. Many would say that Confucianism implies a certain amount of humanitarianism. The argument stems from the belief that the Confucian idea of studying constantly and practicing self-examination naturally leads to humanitarianism. But humanism is just that, humanism. What we may get out of study and self-examination may be entirely different than what another life form may derive from the same process. We, Homo sapiens, appear to be evolving towards establishing the rights of each life form, including ourselves, to develop in their own unique manner. This is an area of potential conflict, for other life forms may be evolving around the concept of aggression and dominating others, while we are evolving around the concept of the right of all life forms to remain free and as independent as possible. This is going to force us to make choices. The choice to maintain our own independence and freedom will be one of those choices that most likely will not come easily when we are confronted by an aggressive, oppressive life form, including the oppressive and aggressive life forms of our own species. We may see the color red for a long time to come, but it will be a lot easier to accept if we know why we are giving blood. A model connecting us to something greater than physical existence could provide us with a foundation capable of transcendence or transcending our species. Such a model would move beyond humanism and fuse us with other life forms, celestial, as we travel throughout the heavens. A practical model of what it is we are and why we exist has much to offer different individuals, different species, and different life forms. The model we as humans build has no choice but to be practical and thus accepting of what it is we, as billions of individuals, have been striving to establish ever since history began. And what have we been striving to establish? The right of the individual to journey unimpeded, respect for the individual, equality for all individuals, and respect for the individual's home, or their environment and sacred space. What does Confucianism imply about our significance in eternity? Confucianism has its own unique foundation. One piece of the Confucian foundation is composed of the idea of studying constantly and practicing self-examination. Constant study and self-examination takes a lot of work. There is no logical reason to expend all this energy unless there is more to life than what we see. Without something more than physical reality, all this effort would seem to go against the laws of nature. All this expensive energy would appear to be inefficient. Why go against the natural process, as indicated by the path of least resistance, unless there is a reason to expend this energy? We as a species are comprised of a mass of individuals who have always sensed the existence of a, quote, higher order than physical reality. We have two choices. We can either acknowledge our past and place faith in the intuitive ability of the great bulk of individuals to sense where our purpose lies, or we can reject this idea and begin from scratch. But why would we begin from scratch? Why would we ignore what our forefathers have fought so bravely to protect? What would make us think we know better than the billions that came before us? And if we accept the first choice, the choice of acknowledging what those that came before us had to say, then we have little choice but to incorporate into our model not only freedom and free will, but the concept of eternity, our ability to enter it, our being a part of it, and through all this, the logical implication of our being able to impact eternity, God, the causative force. Therein lies our significance to eternity. Therein lies our foundation, a unified view upon which we could very well build our rules and laws. Therein lies the basis upon which the Confucian concept of order could grow and evolve. But this model, Symbiotic Panentheism, is only one of many philosophy could build. Each would be valid in its own right. Theoretical models need to be created by theoretical philosophy, just as theoretical physics is toyed with by theoretical physics. But the model of a unified view needs to be strong. If this model is not strong, we may once again find the foundation slipping away. Once we are scattered through the heavens, we may not be able to rebuild the concepts of freedom and free will, and we may find a new foundation being imposed upon us by some life form other than ourselves. This time, when we build the foundation, we had best think long term and of affecting eternity itself. What does Confucianism imply about our relationship to God or the causative force? When gentlemen were rulers, their moral example would inspire those beneath them to lead good lives. Virtuous behavior by rulers had a greater effect in governing than did laws and codes of punishment. If there is a difference between leaders, rulers, or gods, they are only by degree. Webster's dictionary defines the word lead as, quote, to guide on a way, especially by going in advance. A leader then is one who shows the way through example. A leader does not attempt to control, but persuade. A leader abides by the concept of do as I do. Leaders build respect for themselves through the respect they show for the journey of others. Leaders use example as their means of influence, not forced coercion, dominance, or manipulation. Webster's also defines rules as, quote, a prescribed guide for conduct or action. A ruler, then, is one who dictates the way through proclamation. A ruler attempts to control. A ruler abides by the concept of do as I say, not as I do. Rulers do not build respect for themselves. They build contempt through the lack of respect they have for the journeys of others. Rulers use laws as their means of influence. Webster defines God, lowercase g, as, and as does the Bible in many passages, a powerful ruler or chief. A God, then, that is with a lowercase g, is one who not only dictates the way, but has power, the ability to enact or produce the effect. A God does not merely attempt to control, a God does control. A God abides by the concept of do as I say, not as I do, or else. Gods do not build respect for themselves, they build fear for themselves, or reverence through the ability that they have to punish others who do not abandon their own personal journeys through life in order to follow the demands dictated. Gods use punishment as their means of influence. Webster defines God as the causative force, as the being perfect in power, wisdom, and goodness, who is worshipped as creator and ruler of not only the earth, but the universe. Confucianism would imply the relationship between ourselves and a causative force, or God, would be the most effective form of relationship, a relationship based upon leadership, a relationship based upon reverence and respect, and what greater form of respect can be shown than through permitting free will, the ability to choose independently without interference. Determinism or free will. Confucianism would tend to imply this relationship is based upon free will, a symbiotic relationship. In conclusion, how does Confucianism reinforce the concept of SP or Symbiotic Panentheism? It does not. What is actually taking place is Symbiotic Panentheism is reinforcing the concept of Confucianism. Confucianism came along before the term Symbiotic Panentheism. Symbiotic Panentheism is simply a modern term to describe the logic behind the concept of Confucianism. Panentheism is a concept of relative size. Panentheism is a concept of the causative force being so large, so omnipresent, that the universe must lie within her him, it, and therefore is a part of her. We, being a part of the universe, are therefore a part of the causative force. An eminence are made in the image of God. Under the symbiosis aspect, we interact with the causative force because we are a part of her and occupy a niche within her. In science, the higher one goes up the energy pyramid, the fewer species one finds on the upper levels, the more species one finds on the lower levels, and therefore the more individuals affected. This progress up the ladder can reach into the universe, through the boundary of the universe, and into what lies beyond, into the realm of the causative force herself, or what many religions would conceptualize, although abstractly, as heaven, or the pleroma. Confucianism implies the most effective means of governing is through example, not through dictating or subjugation. Wouldn't virtuous behavior and perfect power, wisdom, and goodness equate into the same thing? Wouldn't creator and ruler of the universe equate into the highest form of this concept? If Confucianism is a valid concept, and it would appear it may apply to the causative force as well as ourselves, leader, ruler, and God, lowercase g, are all degrees of the same thing. So, what about God, uppercase G? Which relationship would Confucianism imply the causative force would establish with life forms within her creation, the universe? Would she be a leader, ruler, or a god? Confucianism would hold to the idea of the universe being ruled through the order of natural laws, but Confucianism implies that we, you and I, the individual, is capable of acting independent of the causative force, and as such, if the causative force is indeed a perfect being, she would act in the most effective manner, which, according to Confucianism, would inspire those beneath them to lead good lives. The implication is the causative force would not impose its ability to be a god, but rather would allow for a relationship based upon free will. If such is the case, it is up to philosophy to build such a model for us to examine. In the next section, we'll be discussing Taoism, or Taoism as some pronounce, and its philosophical implications within the framework of symbiotic panentheism.